Welcome to This Golfing Life. My name is Dan Davis, and each week I talk to a different guest about golf, life, and everything in between.
I think that's probably what drove me to be kind of the player I am, because I always thought outside the box and I always wanted the outrageous picture to unfold and happen.
This week's guest has a really special story to tell.
Like, there ain't nothing I won't do. I had to be the jester. I had to be the one that brought the laughs. I had to be the crazy one that would do something off the wall.
He's an incredible character who hails from Portishead in Bristol. As he describes it, the only son of a Bristol docker. He went on and played both on the PGA Tour and the European Tour, and very nearly won in only his second season playing in America.
I played one hole with Tiger, and that was just because I was letting him through. But he still played one of the best shots I've seen in that one hole. He had like a 70-yard bunker shot. I'm like, yeah, what are you going to do? Chum, chum, chum. Like that. I went, all right, that's pretty good.
It's one of the most meteoric rises in professional golf that unfortunately was halted by a health condition.
We had a lot of tests after that and found there was 2 parts of brain damage and, you know, stuff that could be operational, but, you know, you'd have to take out some of the brain to do it.
This is an amazing story and an amazing guest. And as such, we're doing it over 2 parts.
So he used to run from Portbury Dock, Avonmouth Dock, all the way into the heart of Bristol, which was, I think it was about 25-mile round trip there and back. But he had no money, so he used to run backwards and forwards to work.
In part 1, we cover his working class upbringing, his dyslexia, the bullying at school, his love of golf, his extraordinary talent, which then saw him excluded. His face didn't fit among the amateur establishment of English golf.
I love golf, absolutely love it, live it and breathe it. And, you know, in my spare time, I love my music and I love to dance. And I went, well, I'll show you right now. So I chucked the chair right out of the way and I started dancing on the spot in front of everyone. You could hear a pin drop in the room and I'm singing, I'm dancing on my own. And everyone was like, he's a frigging fruit bat.
So welcome to This Golfing Life, Mr. John E. Morgan. John, let's start right at the beginning. Where did golf first enter your life? What are your earliest memories of having a club in your hands?
Oh, those were the days. Going back to when I was about 6 or 7, I think. Me dad and my granddad got booted out of the house in Bristol while they were cooking and roasting as the ladies wanted their moment together. So they went down to Ashton Court and had a couple of hickory sticks and give it a whirl and got the bug. And that was it. It's like literally said to my dad, I really like this game. And all of a sudden I became a member of like a Dockers club called Sharampton Park Golf Club, just off the motorway there. And that was it. I was off and running.
And you grew up in Portishead, Bristol, and still live in Portishead. Describe Portishead for people who are probably only familiar with the band.
Well, yeah, true. When I was at school, we used to listen to the band, actually. They were actually jamming while we were in drama class or doing something like that. It was quite impressive. But we didn't realise they were going to be that big, to be honest. I was only a little pocket rocket at like 11 years old, wondering who these guys are. But yeah, obviously they're worldies. But what was it?
What was the area like? What was the area like you grew up in? So I read one profile and it described you as the only son of a Bristol docker.
Yeah, my dad's a legend. He's still going, thank goodness, and my mum too. But my dad, 47 years on a dock wall, came from Bristol. We had no money, so when I was born, they went skint. So he used to run from Portbury Dock, Avonmouth Dock, all the way into the heart of Bristol, which was, I think it was about 25-mile round trip there and back. But he had no money, so he used to run backwards and forwards to work. And then we moved to Portishead when I was 4, just to make things a little bit easier for him, so he could get to work a little bit easier because it was more on his doorstep. He used to just ride his little bike to work first thing in the morning, 5:30 in the morning, come back at 9. Crazy. And all for me, only child. I'm a lucky boy.
Well, there you go. I mean, what was he like as a golfer? I mean, you had an incredible amount of instant enthusiasm for the game. Was your dad somebody who fell in love with it as well?
Yeah, he was a sport nut, my dad. Whatever he seemed to pick up, he was awesome at. Like, he was great at football. 1 game away from playing against George Best, he was. 1 game away. That's his claim to fame.
How does that work out, John?
Why, just the draw, out of the hat.
Oh, I
If
see.
they'd have beaten Northampton, they got drawn then against Manchester United, and in the next round, and Bestie scored 6. It was that time Bestie scored 6. So my dad's kind of happy he didn't get in that game because he'd have got throttled, obviously, by Bestie. But it was pretty cool. It's pretty cool. Then he loved his cricket. He wasn't into golf at all. Like he didn't play it, he was terrible at golf, he had it sideways, but it's like that was probably the ace in the hole, because literally he couldn't tell me anything, so he just pointed me in different directions and off I went. Do you know what I mean?
Did golf sort of feel like your world, your thing almost immediately? And, was it somewhere that you felt like you belonged when you were playing golf?
Man, I mean, rugby, football, cricket, I played it all, and golf as well. But it was kind of, I think I remember my dad saying, because I played them all and I was playing them all okay. And he goes, which one do you like, John? I said, I quite like golf, Dad. I really like golf. I got the bug for it. He said, do you want to take that a little bit? Let the other ones pass you by and focus on that. I went, yeah, I'd like that. And then that was it. It was just all of a sudden up the golf club every day you could think of, every hour of the day.
When did you sort of instinctively feel like you were good at it? I mean, because I've heard from other people who talk about your sort of natural ability in sort of odd terms. But when did you, as a kid who started really early, start to feel like, oh, wow, I'm really good at this?
I don't know. It's probably, I knew I wasn't bad. I used to play with some lovely guys that were a lot better than me. And that's how you get better, obviously. Play with guys that are so much better that they can kick your backside here, there, and everywhere. So you start learning. And I remember 10 years old, I had a hole in one when I was 10, and that'd give you the bug. I mean, that'd give you the bug. Do you remember the paper? Do you remember the Evening Post back in Bristol? They used to, I think they had a deal, or it was in a magazine. You could get a Tiger Shark 7-iron for like peanuts, for like a £5 or something like that. And I think we put in for it, and it came through the post, an old, Tiger Shark 7-iron, and I had my all-in-one with that one, and that was it. It was I was loving life.
So what was your set like in those days? What was your bag like? If you were going to give it a what's in the bag for the young Johnny Morgan, Mate, what was in there?
We had no money to kind of give out, get the best clubs. So it was kind of free handouts. I remember having a set of sticks. They were my first ever free set I got off just a punter at the golf club, and they had no grooves on them. But, they were free, and I wanted to give them a whirl. I remember my first Christmas present, golf bag and irons, was Regency Green Killer 2s. And
Green Killers.
I loved it. Yeah, Green Killer 2s. And it was only because they looked exactly like, they looked very similar to the Ping Eye 2s.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you were going to say they looked very much like murder weapons.
No, definitely not. I mean, you could do some damage with it, but I didn't have the power back then to do any damage. But like, I loved it, and I had the bug. I had a little Ben Hogan golf bag as well, and off I went.
Who were there was more golf on TV then, still wasn't a lot, but did you have heroes at that time, or were you just so absorbed in playing the game as a kid?
Oh no, I had heroes. I mean, literally up on my wall, I had Sandy Lyle, Seve, Faldo, Torrance, any Ryder Cup, like literally up there. They're my boys. That's where I want to be. That's what I want to do. Yeah, not necessarily I want to do that or ever imagined I could get anywhere near like having that possibility. But like, literally just looked at them and just thought, wow, Sandy Lyle was, that shot out of the bunker at the Masters was the one that sealed the deal for me. I think I was like 10 years old, not even 10, 9. Seen him rip that thing out the bunker and then dance behind the flag. I thought, I want a bit of that. I like that. And literally just Sam all in the winning putt in 85 to Faldo doing his things to Woozy fist pumping on the 18th green. It happened at the Masters because Masters set the ball rolling, as you well know, for a summertime or springtime here in Great Britain. You watch that and all of a sudden it's like, right, where's the clubs? Let's go. I need to go and hit some balls and, get the ball in the hole as quickly as I can.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it, how those sort of iconic images, particularly from the Masters. For me, it was Seve at the Open in 84 that really sealed the deal. That sort of punching celebration on the 18th at the Old Course. But those pictures, if you like, like you say, the woozy fist pump, the Sandy with the big sweat patches under his arms and all that sort of stuff. They're burned in the memory, aren't they?
They are. It's the epic moments. It's the crucial moments. It's the ones that it comes down to one shot. It's kind of that line from Eminem, isn't it? Lose yourself in the music. It's just kind of, it comes down to that one shot, and all of a sudden they come up trumps and they do something otherworldly and makes your hairs on the back of your head stand up on end, doesn't it? It just really does. And I think that's probably what drove me to be kind of the player I am, because I always thought outside the box and I always wanted the outrageous picture to unfold and happen. So I always seen the drama and always seen the fist pumping and the, just the passion. And literally when it came to a moment, it's like, oh, you got to love it.
Well, we'll talk about your fist pumping prowess a bit later, because you have one of the greatest fist pump sequences in the history of golf, I think, John. But you've talked a lot very openly about having dyslexia as a kid. What was school actually like for you at that time?
Yeah, it was pretty crud, really. I mean, it was, I didn't like it, to be honest. It wasn't my cup of tea. I went to school, all I wanted to do was be on the golf course. I mean, if I had a choice, which you're not going to have a choice at that age, I'd have just left school and just gone straight to the golf course. I'd have got a job, greenkeeping, in the shop, whatever, cleaning, doesn't matter. But, lots of bullies. When they use terms like spastic and, words that are quite hurtful as a kid. And, they just kind of pointing the finger and stay away. And even though I was good at sport, I wasn't kind of getting picked in the right teams or something like that, because of my ability off it. And then, just is what it is, boss. I mean, just,
it's a lonely place.
Bye-bye.
It's a lonely place to be, though, isn't it? When you're a kid, I mean, kids can be very, very mean, can't they?
Yeah. Yeah, they don't know what they're doing. I've seen a couple of the guys, and here where I live, that I bump into, and you all eat humble pie, and how you doing, mate? And I was a bit of a silly Billy back at school, and sorry for that. And they've taught their kids probably better now because of it. So it's good.
Yeah, well, that's a very sort of big-hearted response to it. I read an extraordinary story about a teacher telephoning your mum on one occasion, telling her to stop you talking about golf. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, I mean, like, just the classes, like you go to school, and in the classes, obviously I do something pretty good on all I want to do is just talk about it, because it's all I'm proud of and all I'm buzzing about. And all of a sudden my focus was away from, concentrating on math or English or science or anything like that. And one of the teachers just said, look, come on, what's going on here? And my mum just pretty much went, right, you're going to tell my son to stop talking about something he loves and adores. And the teacher quickly zipped up her mouth and chucked the key away and went, yeah, all right, I better shut up then. Because literally, there's other things that go on outside of school that teachers can't, they can't comprehend. They don't know it. But, that was me. I just couldn't help it. I was just loud and proud golf, mate. Loud and proud.
That's great to hear. I mean, what sort of junior golfer were you? You mentioned that you were a player with an instinctive sort of grasp for the dramatic. You wanted to hit the great shot. And you referenced the way you thought as a golfer was different. But can you describe who you were as a junior golfer? You're obviously very gifted, but were you competitive? You were obviously obsessive. Were you a scrapper? Were you a fighter? Tell us about the young emerging junior golfer that was John Morgan in Bristol at that time.
I was all of the above that you just said. Everything rolled into one. I was a scrapper. I was up for it. I was up for the fight. Put me against the best. Let me see if I'll take him out. I wasn't quite Poulter, I'll guarantee a point, but I was kind of close. You know what I mean? I was kind of like, I was pretty sure of myself. But I wasn't big-headed and in your face kind of person. But I had a massive will to win, huge will to win. A bit like your Scotty Scheffler, your world number one, just relentless. As a junior anyway, just thought just thought all the ducks were aligned and I could do anything I wanted to. Do you know what I mean? Just literally whatever you could conjure up or think of, I thought outside the box and could make it happen. Like, just remember junior events where I probably was a bit of a late developer because I was a little pocket rocket.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden I just went, about 15, 16, I just went whoop, straight up, 6'2", all of a sudden strong, built like my dad, like row in the ball, country mile, and then all of a sudden I could, I compete with the big boys, I was in it up with them, past them. All of a sudden different game developed. And luckily my obsession was short game, which was all around the greens and luckily my golf course, Clevedon had a way of being able to create a load of different shots. You never had a flat lie. You get behind trees a lot. You'd have to conjure up a lot of movement in the ball, a lot of imagination, especially when it comes this time of year, summer, when it's hard and bouncy. We had tiny greens, so you had to play up high, let the ball roll in, and all my imagination started going off. And literally, I think my skill set came from there, really, playing the crazy golf, and all the windy conditions. All of a sudden, I had all these windows I could hit it through. I wasn't a big fader of the ball, I got to be honest. I used to just absolutely weaken my right hand like you wouldn't believe just to get a fade, you know what I mean? But
I think
stuff like that.
I think you'd thrive at RNGC, which is my backyard golf course in South Devon. I've heard about your short game, and I will have to get you there next year, definitely. But you said about your will to win and your love to win. Golf is almost the worst sport for that, because you spend most of your time losing, don't you? I mean, actually, Scotty Scheffler's win rate is extraordinary. Tiger Woods, who I know was a huge hero for you, his win rate was even more extraordinary. But for most elite golfers, the tiny fraction that get to play tournament golf, the tiny, tiny tip at the top of the iceberg, they still end up losing, 99% of the time for most golfers. How do you reconcile that?
But that's the hardest piece of the puzzle to overcome. That's where the mental side of the game is otherworldly. If you can get your head around that, I think you've made it. It's not easy though, because you've gone from a big fish in a small pond to then, just a small pond, but that is so concentrated with huge fish. It's like, hold on a minute, you ain't going to win every time, Tiger's the best example of, he won more than anyone by a country mile, and Scotty's doing a pretty good job right now, which is pretty unbelievable. But I was over there a couple of weeks back, and I was following him at the 3M Open when Jackson Coyman won, and I was asking a few questions around about him, and they said his will to win, his determination is just his inside his head is second to none. Like, takes on Ted his caddy in table tennis and throttles him, just buries him, and just like this, just constantly up for it. And I was kind of like that, just so competitive, so highly competitive. And that's, you got to keep that intensity when you go, out on tour. It's not easy to do though, because you get distracted. One, you're with your idols. All of a sudden, you've got to realize, less playing, more playing, if you know what I mean, in that sense.
Were you somebody who
concentrate?
Were you somebody, John, who always studied other golfers? Because you talked about Tiger, you talked about Scotty, and you talked about those heroes on your wall as a kid. Were you somebody, or are you still somebody who studies players and studies or looks at their psychology in particular and wonders what the package is that actually turns out a champion?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think, let's take Ryan Fox, for instance, right? Recent Open champion of Birkdale. Foxy, last couple of years, seen him before he went to America, and followed him round on the golf course, interviews, all that. And literally, to see that man's mindset straight off the get-go, you knew he wouldn't be on the DP World Tour for very long, unfortunately, for us. But he's going on to bigger and better things. The way he used to, just the way he's seen the game, it was so simplified. He had the power, of course he had the power, but he had the desire to just completely kick everyone's backside. Like, he just wanted to do that in the nicest way possible, obviously, with a handshake and stuff. But, you see these people, like I remember I played my last Open qualifying. I tried to have a little go, and I got to final stage at St Anne's Old Links, and I got drawn with Marcus Armitage and Alex Fitzpatrick, and Alex was a amateur. And as soon as I seen Alex, I went, you got something. You got something different. And literally he's starting to show it now. Yeah. And I knew he had it, but he got on tour, like alluding to the question you just said, Dan, he just got on tour and then just leveled out. All of a sudden he's had a little spurt. He's found a little angle. He's had a little bit of confidence. He's got a little win under his belt. All of a sudden, boom, he's off and running. Yeah, there's no holding him back.
On to the next level. It's interesting because the pro golfers I know and have interviewed, all of them recognize game. It's like game recognizes game. And like, it's interesting to hear players who've played on a totally different level to me, what they look for or what they recognize about another player that makes them different from the sort of, the 120, 30 other players in the field.
Yeah, exactly. Well, on the range with Scotty Scheffler at the 3M Open, I was stood behind him and took some nice little videos, just wanting to have a look at his swing, but just how simplicity, like all he's got is his stick down, stick up, just stop for playing, and then focuses on his grip. Yeah. That is it. Just his religion. His grip is religion. It's like, that is it. That is it. That's as good as I get. And he's like, yeah, that's it. Off he goes. And the windows he had, it was just like he had an array of windows that he could hit it through with turn and flight and, dip or balloon or, you name it, he had it. And I was just like, wow, this is different, and his mentality as well. I mean, I've seen him miss a load of putts while I was following him around. Did he get rattled once? Nah. Did he? Yeah, he didn't. He just took it on the chin and strolled on again. Yeah,
I spoke to his coach at Texas University, who's still there, a guy called John Field. And John Field played on the European Tour for a short while, many, many years ago, but at the time of Seve. And he said that he sees, when I asked him about Scheffler, who was at Texas along with Jordan, not alongside Jordan Spieth, but, Field's had all these amazing players come through. And Scheffler was the player he likened most to Seve. He said his hands are just unbelievable.
They are. A great point you bring out, Dan, because that is, honestly, you've hit the nail on the head, because I watch him. I was having a chat with Nick Doherty. We were in the studio on Sunday, and I just said, I said his results of his consistency. I said this movement through the ball with the hips and the legs getting out of the way is so relentlessly always happening that he can't help but always be, extending down the line, and that consistency of strike and everything like that. But I watch his hands and how he moves and how he's like this and all this, and it's very Seve like you say, and literally this is where he's able to put it through the windows, which I was just talking about, and he's able to just conjure up shots. Like, take for instance, he's playing with Hideki Matsuyama, and he's got this pill on the right on 9 at the 3M Open, beautiful place in Minneapolis, and a horrible green, tough back into the breeze, just shy of 500-yard par 4. Nice slopey green left to right, bunkers on left, water on the right. And he's just aimed it straight at the bunkers with this huge cut from about 200 yards. And it's never going to go in the water because he's playing so far away from the water. He's like going, I'm not having anything to do with it. Hits this massive cut, pitches just right at the bunker, uses all the camber of the green, comes down to about 6 foot, slots it in for birdie. It was like, certainly hardest hole and made it look really easy. Do you know what I mean? You made it look so easy, where someone like me, who's a little bit more drawy than fadey and will rely on my draw more than anything. So I'd be starting at the edge of the water and taking the flag on because I'm a nutter. And 9 times out of 10 ain't going to come off. Whereas, will. Do you know what I mean?
We're going to come on to the fact your incredible meteoric career, because, we'll come on to this, that you qualified to play on the European Tour and the PGA Tour off developmental tours in the same season, and you went out and played in the PGA Tour, and you played. Who was the best player you played in the same group with or alongside during your time in America, and why was it that they were just a cut above?
Well, I played 1 hole with Tiger, And that was just because I was letting him through. And I was in a practice round at the Deutsche Bank. Me and Marcel seen where Marcel got an invite over there, and he was playing with Sean O'Hare, I think. But he still played one of the best shots I seen in that 1-hole. He found this bunker down the right hand side. I think it was like 3 or 4 or something like that at TBC Boston, and it's a short par 4. And anyway, he had like a 70-yard bunker shot, horrible, with a lip in front of him, with a green facing him, soft spinny greens, pins at the back. I'm like, yeah, what are you gonna do? Choom, choom, choom. Like that. I went, all right, that's pretty good. That's pretty good. But I played a lot of golf with like Vijay, and Vijay got the number 1 when I was playing with him. And well, the gears, I say gears, but it was just, he had the 80% shot he would always play, 85. And then he was able to chuck it up to 100, and then all of a sudden be 20 past you. And then, he was going in with what I wasn't going in with or whatever. But, I picked his brain quite a lot. Do you know what I mean? I worked with his fitness coach, Joey, who works with Dustin Johnson, or did do with Brooks Koepka as well, and his trainer. And that was really good. That was an eye-opener, because I didn't realize how crazy some of these guys are on their workouts. We were at Pebble Beach, and he said, Joey's going to see you tomorrow. I said, what time do you want to see me? He said, what time you play, Joe? I said, 9 o'clock. He said, I'll see you at 5. I went, okay, cool. So, I went at 5, and I see Vijay and I see Phil Mickelson with Bones over there. And I'm like going, all right, what time were they in here? And he went, 4 o'clock this morning. I went, what? Mad.
Wow.
4 o'clock in the morning, doing their gym work, stretching, getting pumped up, ready, activating all their muscles, ready to go to the golf course and rip it up. And just thought, yeah, this is different. That was the eye-opener for me.
Yeah, well,
that it was a different ballgame.
Other than the physical preparation and the physical conditioning that these guys were putting themselves through, what was the biggest thing you learned about the craft of being a winning golfer from Vijay Singh? Who, like you say, people forget how many tournaments he won in that stretch. He won an absolute shed load, didn't he?
9 or 10, wasn't it? And plus the majors. I mean, literally. I mean, that's what you had to do to overtake Tiger, who was having a bit of a spell off because he hurt his knee, or I think it was, or he had some kind of trouble. And that was the only chance you ever had to catch him, is to play your absolute heart out. But Vijay, I think not being so animated, which was hard for me at the start of a round. I would be like, right, let's go. Whir. And, it'd be full throttle for 4.5 hours, rawr. And, apart from Pebble Beach, would be 6 hours, 20 minutes to get round. It was like,
wow.
You're trying to concentrate for that. But literally, I think he also said about equipment, he said, you got to have the right equipment, John. Don't be fearful of saying your thing, you'll learn more on a golf course than you would, in your life, and different sponsors that come along. If you do, pick the right stuff, have the right gear, make sure it's okay. At a particular time, I didn't. So it was kind of like walking around a golf course backwards. It wasn't easy, but, I learned from that. And then also just his demeanor, like how he used to just go around the golf course. He never used to shout his head off, Vijay, like going around there. So I was watching him, and I got to play with Davis Love III and see how calm he was as well. Super calm. And, never really just stay in his own bubble. And, looking at that, do you know what I mean? Yeah, I would stay in my own bubble, but I'd be like Jacqueline Hyde in my head, like, what am I doing? What am I doing? And then, just seeing how calm these guys are. And it rubs off.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
Rubs off. It definitely rubs off.
Let's just rewind a little bit to that sort of transition from being a really good junior golfer to, you played for Somerset, you played for England. You came through at the same time as a sort of so-called golden generation of players, Luke Donald, Paul Casey, Nick Doherty, Graham McDowell, obviously in Ireland. Did you feel part of that generation, or sort of outside looking in? Because the amateur golf is quite a blazer-orientated environment, and I don't get the impression that you are or ever will be a blazer, John. Am I correct in my assessment?
100%. You've hit the nail on the head. You must have spoken with Rob Lee.
I might have done.
But what was it? But yeah, my face didn't fit. I was just, I remember Somerset days were great for me. I found my feet playing for Somerset. I mean, county golf in general was just amazing. Taking on Cornwall, Devon, Gloucester, you name it, Wiltshire, Dorset. It was amazing. Gwent, Glamorgan. It was amazing. Literally learned so much about myself, and I thrived on team. I realized how much I was more of a team player than an individual player. I was like, yeah, I'm all in, mate. Like, there ain't nothing I won't do. And literally, I had to be the jester. I had to be the one that brought the laughs. I had to be the crazy one that would do something off the wall, and the shock factor, which I always like to call it. I always liked the shock factor I wanted to put on people. It's like going to England training camp, went there. Me and Nick got to the final of a little knockout that they used to have in the England team. And we got in the final, and I picked Nick in the final. But we were having a laugh on our own. And during the course of that week, they get us to stand up, and you'd have Gary Wilson over here, and, you'd have Nick, and you'd have Stormy, you'd have Finchy, you'd have Richie Mack, and you'd have, like you say, Luke, Casey, all that, Rose, and they'd be, we get up in turn and say our bit, and they said, oh, get up and tell us what you like to do. And we had Zane Scotland there, and I remember Zane Scotland just like looking at me like, what is going to happen here? So I stood up. And it's very serious. And hi, I'm John Morgan, and I love golf. Absolutely love it, live it and breathe it. And, in my spare time, I love my music, and I love to dance. And I went, well, I'll show you right now. So I chucked the chair right out of the way, and I started dancing on the spot in front of everyone. Everyone's still as a daisy. You could hear a pin drop in the room, and I'm singing, I'm dancing on my own, and I'm just, giving it the Carlton dance, that Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, and I'm spinning on my back and, doing flips and stuff. And everyone's like, he's a frigging fruit bat. And I went, ta-da, and it's just like stone face, and you can just see some of the players like, just their shoulders starting to chuckle and go. And literally, that was the kind of person I was. You know what I mean? I was that kind of guy.
I bet you were loved by your teammates, but I can't imagine the sort of people that tend to run county golf teams or national golf teams probably, had enough of the humour to appreciate that. I mean, did you sort of face, you said your face didn't fit. I mean, do you think also perhaps occasionally you might have been your own worst enemy in that?
Oh, yeah. I hold my hand up. I didn't play ball. I was the Jester and the Menace, and literally you told me to go that way, I go the other. You know what I mean? It was like, it was, yeah, we need to go down there. And I'd be like, no, we're going there. So I was completely opposite. I mean, I was hard to control. But I don't know if I put that down to, all the other stuff that went on in my life. I don't know. I just rebelled against anyone telling me bad, negative stuff.
Yeah, well, it certainly sounds like that. The way you talk about, what golf meant to you and what being really good at golf meant to you, both in terms
I loved everyone, Dan.
Yeah.
I loved everyone. I don't see a bad bone in anybody's body.
No.
I really don't. I love to give the benefit of the doubt. Really do. I know this world is a crazy, crazy place. And, but you got to enjoy it, haven't you? We're here for a good time, not a long time.
Absolutely. Well, Finchy played at RNGC, my backyard golf course, in this year's event. So the dream is to try and we'll reunite you and Finchy. I read a story somewhere, or found a reference to about sort of beating other England squad players and then effectively being told that you wouldn't play for England again because of what happened the previous night. Is that true?
Yeah. I just
tell us that story, John. I mean, that's
just
crushing.
England. Yeah, I was just what can I say? Met a woman in my dreams for that particular night, and we went off into the sunset when I should have been in bed, and came back the next morning, and I suppose someone just said something because there was a mark on my car. What's that from? I said, well, yeah, I think, yeah. I said, but I said, what can I say? I said, one thing led to another, and we were both feeling very fruity at one another. So I said, I'm very sorry. And they said, well, that, you can't take anything serious. You're here for golf. Rightly so. I was paid to go up there, invest in there. And there I am in the evening having me wicked way, So it was like, I was killing two birds with one stone in a sense, I was being, but that was back then, and you learnt from your mistake. I mean, I can't take it back, unfortunately. I probably wouldn't have gone out and had a good time if I'd have known that would have been the outcome. But someone obviously grasped me up or caught me when I came in late.
This beautiful, this woman of your dreams must have been totally blown away by the dancing, probably, wasn't she?
Well, it was. I was dancing like a good one. I didn't hold back. And put it this way, I was the only person ever like dancing. I didn't need music. I didn't need a dance floor. If there was no one there, I'd still be dancing. I was the first one on, last one off. I never drank. I had all the energy in the world, fit as a fiddle. And literally just, you give me disco music. Oh, mate, I'm off. I am off.
You're going to love RNGC. How did that rejection, having some blazer tell you, your face doesn't fit, you can't do that as an England player. And I get that there's a certain point, and you made it about, being at a training camp for a reason, but that must have been pretty hurtful at the time. But do you reflect on it and think, actually, you know what, that gave you extra impetus, extra fire to prove these people wrong?
Yeah, oh, definitely. I mean, pretty much from there, your mindset shifts because that's not a possibility anymore. So what can I do? Right, am I gonna stay amateur for the rest of my life, or am I gonna go pro? And luckily for me, George Roll, he was my coach. He was coaching me at the time, and he said, "You're not far away from being there, John." He said, "You got the great style for the game. Let's give it a go." And literally, pretty much just chucked the amateur scene out the window and focused on having a go at the pro game.
You're listening to This Golfing Life, a Sounder podcast. Sounder's golf gear is designed from scratch and tested on the course. Get 20% off your next basket at soundergolf.com using the code POD20. That's POD20.
How old were you when you turned pro?
Quite late. I was quite late, actually. I was thinking I was 23, I think.
Because around 21, there was a big incident in your life. You suffered a seizure that led to your epilepsy diagnosis. What do you remember anything of that event?
Not really. Just happened a few times. I think the first one happened when I was 18, the other one when I was 21. Just happened in really bizarre locations. And you think, for someone who doesn't drink, so I'm not burning the candle at both ends, if you know what I mean. I'm not, but I would dance until 5 a.m. So maybe that didn't help, lack of sleep or whatever, but, and then get up and play 36 holes. So, literally, it is what it is. We had a lot of tests after that and found there was 2 parts of brain damage and, stuff that could be operational, but, you'd have to take out some of the brain to do it. And I was like, that's it's a fickle place to go and try and have a little go. So, I thought, what kind of tablets have you got? So we tried loads of different tablets. Some worked, some didn't. Most of them didn't work until I found the recent one, which is called Keppra, which has been a bit of a wonder drug for me. So, and that's been really good.
How long, if you don't mind me asking, John, after those initial seizures at 18 and 21, did they become more frequent, or was it still sort of something that just came out of nowhere and it was once in a while?
It was once in a while and came out of nowhere, but we found there was a rhythm to it. Right. If I got pumped up, and which I would always get pumped up, I could bring one on. Do you know what I mean? Because adrenaline and everything send a lot of action into the brain, a lot of electricity, and it would just fire around. And all of a sudden, if it interacted with the dead matter I got in it, then I could possibly have a blackout. I could have a partial seizure where I could be chatting to you now, and then I just blank you and my eyes go glazed, and then I look at you and go, "Who are you?" And you might be my brother. I won't know who you are, and just for another 10, 15 minutes. And then you got the big ones, you know, where you drop to the ground and you shake a lot for God knows how long. But, you know, the timing of them was poor, I got to say. You know, there was some that happened in certain locations where you just think, crikey, if that didn't happen then, you know. But, you know, one part of it was I did think I was over it, most of it, I must admit, because it was so long since I had one. And one would come out of absolutely nowhere and then just make you humble again. And also just felt vulnerable, massively vulnerable for the first time. And that's the worst thing you could ever feel. It's hard to feel vulnerable when you feel invincible. And that was probably, that was the hard bit to swallow.
And that it's also, I imagine, and you know, I don't know, but discovering it wasn't simply an injury that you could treat and rehab. It was something that you had to live with. And I imagine when you described, you know, thinking you're over it and then it coming again, that the impact of that is almost worse than knowing it's coming again.
Yeah, it was. It was. I think that's the devil in the back of your head, just playing havoc on you. Really is. You know, knowing, you know, something could happen. Trying to calm yourself down, like when you're getting too pumped up, you know, just to help yourself out, which isn't in my personality at all. You know, I'm a nice fiery character. You know, like, you know, running around Greece, fist pumping, like I said before, and that's what made me the player I am. I know it made me good for it. I was very animated. It was like, you know, I felt like it was a shame really, because if I'd have spent more time on tour, you know, playing, I would have definitely shown the world, you know, you'd have had, if me and say Marcel Seen were playing with one another, oh my God, it'd been hilarious. You know, he's an animated guy and I'm seriously animated as well. That would have been proper fireworks.
Well, I was speaking.
Obviously,
I was speaking to some people before this this interview, and one of them said he's got to be the best player talent wise who never quite made it to the top. And you know, you glimpsed the top, and we're gonna talk about that. But I want to understand. You know, at the age of,
it's very kind of him. Well, that's very kind of him.
And just said the most ridiculous golf intelligence, the way that, you know, your brain works. And it might not always be intelligence, but that intuitive understanding of how the game is played and what's possible. I think a lot of people don't have that. What about the medication, John? You talked about finding a sort of wonder drug now, and that's fantastic to hear. How did the medication you were taking for epilepsy affect or impact your golf, or did it not?
I did, yeah. I mean, one of the first ones, Epilim it was called, just ballooned out. All of a sudden went from a Mr. Six-Pack, you know, strong, ready to rock, to then a bit of a human balloon, and just for no reason, still playing 36 holes a day, loving life, and all of a sudden, you know, should be fit as a fiddle, but, you know, headaches and stuff like that. Always suffer with headaches and migraines. Not good to have migraines when you're in a very sunny kind of weather or whatever it is. But, you know, like, it was difficult, you know, and then I tried another one called Lamictal, which was terrible again. Didn't suit me at all, and loads of side effects. And then literally the Keppra is the one that stabilized it. Yeah, okay, it comes with its own little problems, like its nickname's Keppra Rage. Right. So it's kind of like makes you angry by all accounts, which luckily for me, I'm not that much of an angry person.
You don't seem like an angry person.
No, so luckily for me, the doctor went, I think this would be all right for you, because you'll catch yourself if you're feeling a little bit, you know, you know, and I went, oh, yeah, all right. And literally, he was bob on. So literally, it's been a great drug.
Yeah, well, that's great to hear. Your amateur career, you went deep into the amateur championship and the English amateur. Obviously, all that talent that we've just referenced was there for everybody to see. But you got to a point where you felt like quitting. Tell me about the conversation you had with your dad at that point.
Wow, that's going back. It all stems from being pushed away from something that you had a passion for, which was England, Walker Cup, all that jazz. I was all wanting all of that stuff. And I remember like county stuff, something happened in the county where it got a little bit feisty, and I I decided to pull away from that, and I thought, "Oh, is this for me?" You question yourself and stuff like this, and then, as with the epilepsy on board as well, you just kind of, you are just. You're in unfamiliar territory. I think you can't get your head around it, and literally, I couldn't get my head around it because all of a sudden I'm thinking, I feel great. Why am I feeling great there? And then all of a sudden I'm feeling so bad. The highs and the lows were so big. It was like it's not easy to comprehend. But that's something you would learn later on in your career, being a professional, because that's what you got to deal with. So luckily, I dealt with it then and was able to get over it, and then it held me in good stead going forward.
So what did your dad say to you when you said to him, "Dad, I'm thinking about chucking it in. I'm fed up with this"? What did he say to you, and what was the outcome from that, John?
I think you could guess. He's a docker at the time, and he goes, "Right, I can get your form. You can work on the docks." And I went, "What? Do what you do, like coming home late at night, going in crack of dawn. 47 years, and don't get a thank you for it, and see how stressed and how hard he's had to work all his life to get what he's got, and what he's achieved." I mean, I thought, yeah, okay, he's a wonder man, of course he is, but no, I don't want that. I don't want to work on the docks, freezing cold during the winters, not knocking them because they do a great job. Far from it, because my dad's a docker, my whole family's been a docker. But yeah, the reality check is that, when someone tries to tell you something that you don't want to hear, my dad was good at that. And so was my coach, George. And the perspective, you've been given a chance, John, go and use it. And I got very fortunate, though.
But meeting George, who was a tour player, good player, you went out to Spain, didn't you? After that, pretty soon after that conversation, and I read that you became a buggy boy. But how did you come to go to Spain? Because that's where you met George, wasn't it? And what were you doing out there?
Well, wasn't it? It was bizarre. I was with George before I went to Spain.
Oh, okay. I thought you met him out there for some reason.
No. So this is a great story. I mean, this is where it all happened. This is because we didn't have any money to go on tour. No, to turn pro, you're talking stupid money, right? We had a few punters locally that chucked in a couple of bob each, and there was a little pot and stuff like that. But I'd have to go and kick some serious butt really early, and I had no angles or whatever like that. But this is still amateur days, so I got a buggy boy job in Spain first of all. So I was there was a guy member at Kendallshire where Pat Murphy is, and he says, I know someone down in Spain if you want to play some golf in the winter. And I'd worked, I had like 3 jobs. What was I? Filing cabinet maker. I used to do some labouring with my mates and then tree surgery and work behind a bar. So I had a couple of jobs. I'd be just, getting cashing out or whatever like that. I won't tell you their company's name, would get me in trouble, obviously. But but yeah, it was all that jazz going back then. And then all of a sudden I zipped over to Spain and played with Robbie it's a coincidence, but Robbie Cannon was there, who was a fitness trainer for Shane Lowry. This happens way down. We're both kids. Robin Symes, who played for Ireland and coaches loads of the South Korean national squad and stuff like that, and with Ledbetter. And then Steve Crooks, who became then the head pro at Hollywood Golf Club, Rory McIlroy's place, right? I mean, just bizarre. And then me, right? This is all later on.
Wow.
But we're all there and we're on this putting green and we've done our movement in the morning and, like getting the buggies out at 5 o'clock in the morning for all the punters. And yeah, it was brilliant. And this bloke comes up on the putting green. We're all having a putt. And he's gone, anyone want to be in a commercial? We'll give you 50 quid for half an hour's work. All our hands go up. And he's picked me. He's picked me out of all of them. And there was a couple of Swedish, a couple of Danish players all there, all national teamers that had come down there to practice. That got a couple of bob. And he's gone, come on, I went, all right, sweet. So I went over to this hole and they had it all set up and he was building a golf course called Santana right next to La Cala. Right. You probably know it. Most people do, I'd imagine. And that was his land. I didn't know. So anyway, what gets me 90 yards from a flag, looking down at it over water, green laying back towards you over a little tier. And I rolled 2 out of 10. Oh, 2 shots out of 10. And I hit the flag twice. Totally zoomed in. All for just the camera was rolling, and I've done this, right? High five the guy who's like the mayor of Malaga. My fiving him, right? He's loving it. I haven't got a clue what's going on. Then we go down to do another thing, and this German lovely bloke called Alexander, he goes afterwards. He said, "John, what do you want to do? What are you doing tomorrow?" I said, I'm working in the morning again. Oh yeah. He said, "What are you doing out?" And I thought he liked me. I thought, oh no, I thought he just, I thought this was a bit too.
He'd seen you dance as well.
Straightforward. I thought, yeah, he'd seen me dance. He liked a bit of the mog. I went, all right, cool. And then, so I was like, yeah, I was a bit apprehensive. And then all of a sudden, he had a big old folder. And he came up to the hotel there, and I couldn't read, obviously. And he said, "Take a little read of that." And I went, "I can't read, mate. I wouldn't be able to understand it." And he read a couple of lines. He said, "Do you want to get your mum and dad down here? Do you want to get your coach George down here?" And I said, "Yeah." "Well, you sure?" He said, "Yeah, I'll pay for them and I'll get them all down here." And he paid for them. They all came down. They all sat round a table without me. I didn't want to be there because I couldn't understand it. And then literally George came up to me. He said, "This is it, John." He said, you found the golden goose. He said, "You found him." He said, "He wants to sponsor you, and he doesn't want much in return at all." He said, "He just wants to see you do well." I went, "Really?" And literally, that was just music to my ears. And off I went. He all of a sudden got a place down in Spain, said, "Come and live here." And he travelled with me. He was a lovely bloke. Got on really well with George, got on really well with mum and dad. They felt really, because I'm an only child and they look after me, they were really happy that this kind of guy was looking after me, and he didn't want anything. He was just lovely.
He was like
an absolute diamond.
Fairy godfather came into your life, just somebody who recognised that talent. But you've hit 2 shots out of 10, and you've held these shots, in this perfect scenario of this advert, and he's seen that.
Yeah, he's seen it, and I danced all the rest of them around the flag. They're all like gimmies. I literally got them all on tap, and I was playing like a man possessed at the time. I was taking all the money off the boys, around La Cala, the little pocket money we'd have, like I'd get the tip jar or something like that. You know what I mean? I get the tip jar, and it's all good. You know what I mean? And what would I do with the tip jar? I'd just go and get everyone a load of beers, even though I didn't drink. Just get them a load of beers. They're happy.
In part 2 of our interview with Johnny Morgan, we look at his spectacularly rapid ascent as a pro golfer, from literally turning professional to having cards on both sides of the Atlantic within a matter of months. This is absolutely meteoric stuff we're talking about here. We talk about his experiences of playing in the States and how tantalizingly close he came to winning on the PGA Tour, a win that could have changed everything. And then how epilepsy thwarted him as he sought to consolidate and build on his career in Europe. This is an amazing story of resilience, humour, humility, and an extraordinary talent.